Alright, so we're finally gonna continue along the road of the Omen franchise with Damien Omen 2. Well, where do I start with this? This movie may... Look, I really enjoyed the first film. I thought it was fantastic. But this film just rehashes everything from the first one. But with somehow less and more terrible story writing. You got some story beats. There's someone that's trying to warn a family member of Damien's that Damien is the Antichrist, and people are dying. People are dying left and right, but I guess some of the good things, the acting in this is really, really good. The score, well, sometimes a little annoying, it's still pretty good. It's the same, I can't remember who it was. Is it Jerry Goldsmith? Jerry Goldsmith's score is still fantastic. But at times it does get kind of annoying. Like, okay. I'm like, do you actually have to have that going off all the time? Like, every single time that something bad happens, you know what's going to happen because you're still hearing, I'm just like, okay, someone die now. It just gets over repetitive. And so the reason it differs from the first one for me in a negative way is that in the first film you had one guy trying to warn, Thorne over and over again what was happening. In this one, there are multiple people that as soon as they try to do something, they die. Beginning, we have our old friend Bugenhagen from the first film trying to tell his friend Michael, hey, you gotta take this chest, and it's got the daggers, and you gotta take it to Chicago, and you gotta kill Damien. And he goes to this wall, and he shows him that Damien's face is on there, the Antichrist, the devil's face, whatever, and they both, as soon as he shows him, whole place caves in. And then you have this woman. She's a reporter, and she finds out about it, and she tries to warn Richard Thorne, and she dies. I think there's one more death before that. Someone trying to warn them, and they die. You'd think they would try to figure this out. Every time someone finds out about this and tries to warn them, they die. Or is in the way of what this satanic group is about. Because there's this one guy who disagrees with this other guy on buying up land, right? And this guy is one of the Satanists, but the other guy isn't, of course. And the guy he falls through the ice and dies. And so, yeah. So there's something going on there. And you have Lance Henriksen, and as soon as I see he takes great interest in Damien, I knew he was one of the Satanists. The one person I think he did a great job of, although I did sort of suspect her a little bit, but, not really. No, maybe not really, I didn't know. Oh, Aunt Marion, that was the other one, played by the lady from Beetlejuice. The old lady, don't call me coach, She warns them about Damien, and she ends up having a heart attack. But there was the other one, his aunt, his uncle's wife, who they state, is not the mother of his cousin Mark, but he remarried. So there's your hint. And at the end, when they finally find it, because this one guy, Warren, has to come and take him to New York to show him the wall for him to figure out what's going on. And this is very confusing because Richard is on this train car when it goes whoosh and kills the other guy, but he's unharmed. At least the last we see him, he's on the train, so I don't know. But this other guy dies because, of course, he warned of Damien, so he has to die because that's the rule. And, yeah. And so Richard, he gets back to Chicago, and he says, very quickly, I might add, and he says, tells the driver, bring Damien to me at the museum, and he takes his wife, and they go to look for the daggers. Damien arrives, and he realizes that his wife is withholding the daggers from him, so he's like, give me the daggers, and she takes, and she stabs him, and kills him because I always belonged to him, she said. She was one of the Satanists the entire time, which could make or break this movie, I guess. People will say bullshit, but that's the point of a twist, is you never see it coming, and sometimes it don't make sense. But I think that's one of the good parts, is that twist. It's like, oh. But again, it's also a negative, because why does everything have to be that simple? Like, they were on the verge of succeeding. Like, the first one was different. The first one, he was going to succeed in killing the child, but the cops showed up. And yes, there could be some Satanists in the cops. But as far as we knew, they were just cops doing their job. Here, every single turn is either a Satanist gets involved, or Damien uses his magic abilities, or some evil force causes them to die before anything can be done. Whoever wrote this wrote themselves into a corner and then came up with this twist, and nothing gets done. Nothing happens in this movie except people die. Nothing is furthered. There's no plot really furthered. This guy's trying to purchase land. We don't know what they're actually trying to do with it. There's no plot really, other than Damien is Antichrist. We have to stop him. Everyone who tries dies. Yeah, and there's some people around him that are secretly Satanists, and I believe the driver was one of them as well. You know, he kills his brother Mark with an aneurysm, or his cousin, I should say, Mark with an aneurysm, and yeah, look, obviously I didn't care for this one very well. The military stuff, some of it was good, but like, I felt like there was one scene that they should have taken out because nothing was done about it, and it doesn't really do anything. There's this bully, because there's always bullies, at this academy, and he starts, getting on Damien's case, and Damien kind of does the stare powers, and he causes stuff to happen. There's a bunch of other people around, and nobody seems to notice that happened. And it's just dropped. This is the alligator moment, you can say. It's just dropped after that. There's a scene where the teacher is asking him, when all these famous people died, and he's naming them all off. Was that important? He knows when all these people died. Okay. And then that's where we get the reveal that Henriksen is one of the Satanists, and he's like, you can't draw attention to yourself, or whatever. I really don't think this did anything. Yeah, it showed us what happened after the events of the first film, and I liked how, the beginning of this picked up almost, right afterwards. You got Bugenhagen telling him, we have to do this. He was sent to his aunt and uncle in Chicago, which, by the way, is a plot hole. It's a retcon. Because at the end of the first film, he's clearly living with the president. And yet, he got sent to his uncle, which I understand would happen if you have the next of kin, you go to them. But they could explain that. He was staying with the president for a while, but then he went to his family in Chicago. Something like that. I don't know. I don't even know if Bugenhagen talks like that, but like I said, the actors are good. No big actors, my name. All I knew, Lance Henriksen and the guy who was the doctor on MASH. they're all doctors on MASH, but there was a guy who was on MASH. Parisian, I think was the character's name in this movie. He had the mustache and the curly hair. He was on MASH for a while there. But yeah, and it really starts to pick up, though, when there's this gas explosion. Everyone's affected except for Damien. Now, I understand that he's not affected, but the stupid-ass kid, don't kill me, should have pretended. But then again, the doctor... And then there's this doctor who's the same guy from Mannequin. Whoop! Hollywood, I think his name is. He's got this little afro. He's in Designing Women, too. You know who he is. And he dies. And his death is probably the best because I don't know how that works, but like the cable from the elevator comes dropping down and just cuts him in half. It's fantastic. Probably the best kill in the film, I'd say. Yeah. The kills in this are actually pretty good, and that's really what saves it from going into the fryer. Yeah, like the lady gets the news reporter later or whatever, she gets her eyes picked out by the Raven, and then she gets run over by a Big Mac truck. That's pretty cool. I know you can tell it's a dummy, but it's still pretty cool. I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 10. It's decent, it's fine, but it doesn't really go anywhere. There's nothing has really progressed in anywhere. There's no meaning for certain plot points. People just die. It's really all it is. But yeah, 5 out of 10. So what are your thoughts on Damien? Omen 2. Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty. See you in the next one.